Okay, look, someone is gonna have to dress up as adult sexy lamb from the movie Lamb. So who's gonna do it? That's it. That's my intro. Hi, I'm Amanda. You're watching Swell Entertainment, and today we are talking about the newest, I believe, release from A24, Lamb. I wanted to like this movie. Going into it, I was like, God, I hope this is messed up. I hope this is, suspenseful. I hope this is disturbing. And it wasn't. I have not laughed as hard as I did in the last 10 minutes of this movie in literally any other movie I've seen in 2021. So it does have that going for it. But it does seem I am not in the popular vote of how people are reacting to this movie from a film critic perspective. It seems like TikTok and the like, I am in the same boat as them, okay? Maybe I'm just not refined. Maybe I'm not polished. I wanted to talk about this movie because I was really looking forward to it. When I first saw the trailer, I was like, oh my God, this is gonna be beautifully shot. It's gonna be so messed up. This is gonna be horrifying. I'm excited. And then I went to this movie and I was bored for 90% of it. I was bored. This movie actually takes place and is filmed entirely in Iceland. And I just want to say, I am wearing a sweater today. It's currently 73 degrees here in LA, but I wanted to be on brand with this movie because I will say that one of the things that I did like about this movie was the sweaters. Everyone looked so cozy and so comfortable the entirety of the movie. It was wonderful. I almost did a trip to Iceland this year, very spur of the moment, because the Icelandic Tourism Board, I believe it was doing this deal or some sort where to try and encourage tourism again after the pandemic, that if you brought them your pandemic sweatpants, they would turn them into a pair of hiking boots for you. And if you had leftover fabric, they would give you a little bag for your boots. And I decided against it because I was like, going all the way to Iceland last minute just for the chance of potentially having sweatpants turned into boots is a little ridiculous even for me. But now that I've seen Lamb, I may go just for the potential sweater haul that I could do if I went there. So I'll keep you posted. But anyway, here's some of the Rotten Tomatoes reviews of this movie, because this, I think, is what really tainted me going in with this movie, because the amount of people and the amount of reviews and pop-ups that I saw in the advertisements for this movie saying the most disturbing story ever put to film, disturbing, beautiful, all this stuff. This movie was not disturbing. She's a lamb. That's it. 84% tomato meter, 60% audience score. Oh God, that's funny. Darkly imaginative and brought to life by a pair of striking central performances, Lamb shares expectation with its singularly woolly chills. I wouldn't even say it's chilling. Did we watch the same movie? Lamb is at its most successful when seen as a slice of mythology or a dark, warped modern-day fable. It's a deeply moody piece driven by the pall of melancholy and gorgeous photograph of the stunning vast Icelandic Greenland. See, I disagree. Okay, like I said, the last 10 minutes were hilarious to me. And even then, I don't think it achieved the horror aspect. Lamb is being marketed as a horror movie, but during the first 2/3 of the story, viewers might be wondering what's so terrifying about this film. It isn't until the last third of the movie that the horror elements kick into high gear. Slow, quiet, and very, very weird. It's one of the movies in which you're either on the wavelength or you're not, but I was. Good for you, Steven. Clearly I'm not on the wavelength because, oh my God, was I bored. And I went in, okay, dark, twisted fable. I get it. I went in expecting that. That's what I was expecting. This was going to be a dark film, disturbing. I kept waiting for okay, cool, this is weird. But it wasn't giving it. It wasn't giving it. Okay, let me explain just the plot of the movie before I get into more of my criticisms. Basically, there's this couple. I'm going to butcher these names. Maria, I'm not going to butcher that. And then Ingvar, I think, is the husband. Okay, Maria and Ingvar. And I believe, based on what we were later shown, that they had a daughter who died, or they lost their child, okay? Sad. Awful, horrible, I get it. And they are clearly just kind of going through the motions of running their sheep farm in Iceland. Side note, there is a dog in this movie that ends up dying, and these characters never name their dog. They just keep yelling dog, is how they're calling the dog. No, his name is Charlie. I named him because he deserves to have a name. He was a good boy. He tried to protect Ada, and you guys just kept calling him dog? What is this? Also, they did way too many showings of the dog's decaying body. I was like, what are we achieving with this? Like, it's not even like disturbing at that point. It was just like, did they really not notice the dog was gone? Like, that I got mad at them. Like, fuck you guys. They're clearly going through the motions, and sheeps are being born, or lambs are being born. And something I did try to find and I could not find was how many lambs were actually born on the set of the movie Lamb, because there's at least 2 born in one of the opening scenes. And then there's the scene where the lamb is born, or the sheep is is delivering a lamb or something. And then we don't actually see the lamb that is delivered for what ends up being the lamb of the movie Lamb, what ends up being their daughter that they again named Ada, which I don't know, that's a little messed up to me. I mean, I get it. This is a thing about loss, and it's like, okay, this is happiness. This is another chance. Ada's come back to us in the form of a lamb, but still, keeping the name is messed up, because what's your child gonna do when she goes to the little cemetery that they show later on in the movie and sees her name already carved out on one of the crosses? That seems like it would mess with the child's head. Lamb child or full human child, you know? I tried to find how many lambs are actually born on the set of this movie, because I'm assuming they had to film these scenes multiple times, at least 2 or 3 times. So, because like dealing with animals in like any context, but especially on like a movie set, like that's a lot. So I wonder how they ended up, how many were actually born? I don't know. It'd be interesting to know. So if anyone has that number, please let me know. One of the sheep gives birth to what we think is a lamb. And what I originally thought was happening was that this was a folie à deux situation, or folie à deux, sorry, I'm American and uncultured, where like madness of 2, okay? Because they don't actually show the audience fully why they are like obsessed and like making eye contact, and they're like, what? They don't talk, but they're like, what's going on? Basically with their eyes, when this lamb is suddenly born, and we just see like the lamb head. So there's nothing at first that indicates that this is anything other than a normal lamb, and they are just suddenly putting this little, not fantasy, psychosis? That's not a delusion. Let's go with delusion onto this lamb, and they think that this lamb is now a child, and like, oh my God, it's Ada reborn, like that type of thing. That's what I thought they were going for. But then at a later point in this movie, Maria is like, I'm gonna go to the barn, whatever. And Ingvar is like, oh, I'll come with you. And she's like, no, stay with her or whatever. But then Ingvar leaves. And these people leave their door open so often in this movie. And it's like, okay, I'm assuming this is how you lost your first daughter, based on what ends up happening and how you react. And it's like, I'm just assuming that like you would learn to shut the door at this point, you know? Like you're in the middle of nowhere, and I get it. You're literally in like this very isolated part of Iceland. And that was something that I was really expecting them to play more into, was how isolated and vast the location this was being shot in was. However, I feel like they just kind of kept focusing on like the beautiful qualities of this location, which it's stunning. It's a very visually stunning movie. I'm not denying that. But I just think that there is an element of horror that can be achieved with showing the isolation and vastness of where they are shooting that I don't think is ever really achieved literally at all with this movie. Even when the ending scene happens, and I'm like, see, that is a point where you should be like really kind of digging it home, like, oh yeah, no, they are alone. They are way out there. There's nothing that they can do, this type of thing. And I just don't think they played into that enough. I think that would have been a good touch and really would have rounded out this film better, in my view, is if they would have just amped up the isolation factor, but that's just me. Ada wanders out because her sheep mom, the one that gave birth to her, keeps bawling at her from a window. Ada just kind of wanders out and follows her sheep mom. So then they come back and they're like, where's Ada? Oh, she was asleep in the living room. No, she's not. We're going to go find her. And obviously all of this is in a language that this movie is all through subtitles. Not a whole lot of dialogue. So if you're like, oh, subtitles mess with my head, it's really not super detailed as far as dialogue goes. Like it's definitely more of a visual film. I don't think that the lack of dialogue or less dialogue was a hindrance to this movie whatsoever. I'm just making a note of the limited dialogue if you are considering seeing this movie and you're worried about the subtitles. I'm dyslexic and I had no problem. You're fine. Okay, so they're searching for Ada. They're looking for her. They're freaking out. They're starting to freak out. All of that. They find Ada and she's like curled up near her sheep mom. And that is when we finally see like Ada in her whole form. She's like naked. They pick her up. They wrap her up. And she clearly is head of a lamb, one arm of a lamb, and then the rest of her is like a human child. And it's like, oh, okay, so she is part lamb and part human. So, did the dad fuck the sheep? Because, like, clearly, their relationship was really strained after losing their original daughter, Ada. I don't know, maybe he was like, hey, bestiality, that'll work out. I just need to feel something. Not that, thank God, it's something way wilder. Oh God. But yeah, no, the dad did not screw oh my God, I keep wanting to say go. The dad did not screw the sheep. Take a shot every time I accidentally say go instead of sheep. Maria yells go away at the sheep mom. The sheep mom starts following them again and bawling at them. Cut to a car pulling up on the side of the road, getting out of the car, like there's 3 people in the car, a woman, I think, and 2 men off the top of my head. And someone gets pulled out of the trunk and pushed out and left in the middle off the side of this road. Starts walking, and originally I'm like, oh, this is gonna be awkward. Like, I did not think that it was the brother in this instance. I'm just like, oh, this is like, things are gonna get weird. Like, they're gonna have to kill this guy to keep their lamb daughters safe. Like, they're gonna have to, actually, she needs human flesh, so we're gonna sacrifice you to her or something. I don't freaking know what they were going for or what I thought was gonna happen. But then when I found out it was the brother, I was like, oh. So basically, this is Pieter, and he goes and he sees, oh God, does he see Ada or does he see the other thing? I think he sees Ada. So Pieter makes it to the farm, hides out in the barn, does not go inside yet, probably just because he doesn't want to deal with it yet. He doesn't want to deal with the, oh, I owe people money, all of that thing. So he's hiding out. Maria wakes up and she's hearing Ada's sheep mom outside bawling again. And so she goes, puts the dog inside, grabs the shotgun, and shoots the sheep. And then buries the sheep. And Pieter sees her. And so the way they set this up at first, I was like, is he afraid of Maria? Is this just some random dude who showed up and is like, what the fuck is she doing? It's very clinical how she does this. And so he's like kind of like shooken up or like hiding from her as she's like going back. And then he goes and sleeps. And then Ada walks in, all this stuff. And then later he does say to her, does Ada know you killed her mother? So then Pieter comes in and Ingvar is like, oh, when'd you get in? All this stuff. Breakfast, Ada, come in. And Pieter is like, what? Like really taken aback. And I'm assuming he knew about the original Ada. I'm assuming. And we don't really get more information about Ada other than the fact that like clearly she was really young. At one point they already had the crib available. They had it like tucked away. Her room was already like pretty much done. Although they do have her sleeping in their room for like, I think the entirety of the movie. Which, I mean, makes sense once you lose a child. Like, I think that makes sense. I do think they could have played that up more, personally. But that's just me. So she just kind of waddles in and sits next to Maria and just is using her one baby toddler hand. And then she has her sheep hand just sitting there. Pieter's just like, what's going on? And then Ingvar's like, she's shy around strangers. And it's just like this, like, what is this? What's going on? He's like, this is happiness. It's like, oh yeah, no, this is Ada. She is our child. She is not part lamb. I did not just kill her sheep mother. She is our child. Ignore the rest. Which, like, okay. Like, I don't know. I just think, like, there could have been something different here. This could have been more twisted in that, like, there could have been way more hostility from Maria and Ingvar towards Pieter, especially with what happens in a little bit. Basically, Pieter is like walking around and the bathroom door is open and Maria and Ada are taking a bath and they're like playing, like mother-daughter playing, okay? Pieter is watching and Ingvar's like, what are you doing? And he's like, what is this? It's happiness, all of that. Then they're cleaning out the storage room. I'm assuming this is the family farm and that's why Pieter was dropped back here. It's not just like, oh, that's where my brother is. It's like, no, we know where you lived. If I'm remembering correctly, I don't think we see what is on the other 2 crosses that are on the hill that Ada's original cross is on. I'm assuming that's Ingvar's parents potentially, and so they now live in Ingvar's parents' home and they run the farm, and Pieter just fucked off to go do whatever, owe people money. That's what I'm assuming it is, because they're cleaning out the storage shed and they find Pieter's old drum kit and all of that. And Ada is like kind of dancing, but also kind of not. Is this before or after? Oh yeah, no, they pull the chair out. Pieter sits in it. And Ada is watching him. And he will not let it go that she is an animal. He won't let that go. So he's like, here, sheepy sheep, come here. And takes a clump of grass. And she goes down on all fours and goes to eat the grass. And Ingvar walks up and is like, what are you doing? Stop it. Why are you trying to ruin this? So then after that, Ingvar and Maria are asleep and Ada is sleeping as well. And Pieter goes and gets Ada and grabs the gun and walks out with Ada. It's almost sweet because she's still like holding his hand. Like, okay, I'm holding on. Like I'm supposed to hold on. My parents told me I'm supposed to hold on to whoever I'm with so I don't get lost again. Then it's like, he is like, okay, I'm going to end this. They need to let go of this. So he goes to shoot Ada. And Ada's just looking at him because I don't think she understands what a gun means. I don't remember if there was a gunshot or not, and that's what woke Maria up. But Maria wakes up, sees Ada's not there, goes out, and is clearly ready to start freaking out. And instead, Pieter and Ada are literally like asleep, cuddled up on the couch. There's a character development there that we missed out on, okay? What was it? Literally, even Ada just like walking up and like trying to hug his legs or something I would have accepted that. Of like him being like, oh, this is literally a child. Like something like that, I would have questioned less. Or him being like, how am I gonna kill something that's making my brother and his wife I'm also in love with, because it's always like that. No one's, everyone almost got with the brother apparently in these marriages. But anyway, and it's like, oh, I can't do this to them. I can't kill their child. I can't kill their second chance. I can't kill their happiness. But we don't get that. It's just like, okay, next. Ada and Pieter are like, okay, we're gonna go out, we're gonna go fishing. And they take the tractor out to go fishing. And Maria and Ingvar have sex. We see titties. Also, side note, Maria's arms, I know that's so not the point. We see her titties in this, but also like her arms are shredded in a way that I was like confused by. Please drop the arm routine. I need to know. It was like really, really toned arms. I was like distracted. I'm really weird bisexual. My attraction to women makes very little sense. It's like, oh, we literally have titties. And I'm just like, wow, her arm muscle. Anyway, Pieter and Ada are fishing, and there's this one funny moment that I'm gonna make a meme of because he's telling her a fable, and I'm assuming that's what this whole it's a fable, all of that, and he's telling her a fable, and he looks at her and just goes, "Do you know any fables?" And they just cut to Ada, and she does not talk. She makes little sounds throughout the movie, but she never says a word. My head immediately goes, "Bitch, I'm a lamb." When they cut to her, I don't know why, but in the voice of like, "Bitch, I'm 11," like that voice. I need sleep. The tractor breaks down. They leave it. They go back anyway. Ada is with them. They're watching the game. Their team loses. Then they put on Pieter's old music videos. Everyone's drinking. Ingvar gets too drunk. Oh, yeah, during this time, I think it's during this time, Ada wanders out because she hears Charlie, I'm calling him Charlie the dog barking. So she wanders out to go see what's going on because apparently Ada is the only one that fucking cares about Charlie in this movie. She sees Charlie barking and then Charlie starts barking again and Ada like runs back to the house and she doesn't try to get their attention, doesn't do anything. She just goes to her mom, which I mean, I guess she's a toddler at this time is how I'm thinking of her, which I mean, like 3 or 4-year-old may not fully know, even if they could talk, may not fully know how to articulate like danger, just knows that like I need to be near my mom, that type of thing. So I'm not gonna blame Ada for not trying to get her parents' attention and instead just being like, okay, dad's sleepy now, I'll lay down with dad. Okay, like I'm not gonna question that. But anyway, Charlie is killed off screen. I don't think it was a gunshot. I think it was some type of blade or something. Charlie's gone. But Ingvar was drinking too much, and so he goes to lay down, and Ada lays down with him like, oh, Ada, stay with me, da, 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 da. Maria and Pieter are in the kitchen, and he's kind of coming on to her a little bit, and they've kind of hinted at it here and there. Like earlier he said, like, I saw you in the bath, I think you wanted me to see, and it's like, what do you fuck off, I'm literally married, and I have a lamb daughter, leave me alone. He's coming on to her, she's rebuffing him, but then he says, this is not the funny part. I'm laughing at how she reacts. He says, does Ada know you killed her mother? Because he saw her kill the sheep mom earlier. And instead of answering the question, she basically starts seducing him, leads him over to a cupboard or like a storage cabinet, like, oh, come with me, and then locks him in there. Gonna start doing that to get out of answering any questions moving forward, locking people in closets after I try to seduce them. After he stops knocking on the door, she makes a decision and goes and like packs up a couple of things, grabs some money, and I'm thinking, oh shit, she's leaving Ingvar. And again, other than like the start of the movie, like there's no really indication that like she is genuinely unhappy with Ingvar now that they have their lamb daughter. Like clearly it was just like we were lost because we had lost our child, and so we didn't know how to be together anymore. We didn't know how to be a family anymore without her. And now we have Ada again, lamb Ada, and so now we know how to be a family again. And so there doesn't seem to be any real issue past that, I don't think. Unless I missed something. But she takes the money, and it's clearly hidden money, and then goes to Pieter and says, we're leaving, let's go. Loads up the car, and they leave. They don't take Ada. And so I'm like, oh shit, is she just abandoning Ada? Like, did she really like Pieter that much? Is that what's going on? Did this weird moment of him accusing her of murder? Which she did. But like, he's still like, does she know you killed her mother? Does she know? Which was clearly a dig meant to hurt her. Like, that's clearly what I think it was a dig meant to hurt her. It could have just been, does she know? But also there's a way to phrase it better than just like, does she know you killed her mother? And like, there's a way to phrase that's not genuinely vicious. But they get in the car, and then they get to the bus stop or the side of the road, and she's like, you're leaving, here's the money. And he's like, I'm not taking this. And she's like, no, go. And basically bus comes, he gets on the bus and leaves. While they're gone, Ingvar wakes up, and so does Ada wake up. And he's like, oh, where is everyone? Obviously, Ada doesn't say anything. He's like, let's go and fix the tractor, shall we? They get their stuff, and they go and walk to where the tractor was left like the day before or earlier that day. It's hard to tell what time of day it is because it's light like 20 hours a day in Iceland while they were filming this. So it's basically, there's no real night here. I think honestly horror during the daytime is more upsetting because it's like you should be able to see things coming and you should be protected just from your own ability to have basic sight and senses and all of that. And so when then bad things do happen, I do think that's more horrifying. Again, something that could have been played up more here. So as they're going, Maria returns back to the house, calls for them, not there, sees that they left, and then she hears a gunshot. Starts freaking out, runs towards it, okay? Again, they're in the middle of nowhere. Pieter is gone. Maria is alone. Ingvar is alone with Ada. And I'm thinking, oh fuck, Ada shot Ingvar. She was playing the long con. She really just wanted to kill everyone. That's what this is. She just wants a mom to herself. Like, I'm thinking that's what it is. No. Okay? Because Ada's just kind of staring there at her dad as like a bullet wound comes out of his neck and he's bleeding. And then it cuts over to a half sheep man with the gun. He's dirty as shit. We don't see his dick. We see like part of his butt. But I mean, I was like, this man is naked in the woods. He's part sheep. There's no modesty here. None of these angles. None of that. Go full frontal with the sheep man penis thing or not. Like, it was just, I was like, we're doing modesty, really? In this movie, we're doing modesty? Okay. He basically is like Ada. He has the head of a sheep and I think one arm of a sheep. And then the rest of his body is like literally like a human man. And it's like, oh, he fucked the sheep person. Okay. But he kills Ingvar. Okay, or Ingvar is dying. And then Ada like lays down with him the same way that they did when he was just drunk and asleep and she was like cuddled with him. That was the only part where I was like, oh, this is sad. She doesn't know what to do, but she's just like, it's okay, Dad, like I'll stay with you. That was sad. I'll say that. But I was still like, I had my hand cupped, like I was like this in the theater, trying so hard not to laugh because the reveal of the sheep man was just so out of freaking nowhere. I was like, What? Okay, Charlie died. I knew that. Something killed Charlie, okay? And I knew the gun was missing because they kept going through the same like mudroom portion of like a shed / leading to the barn or whatever. And you could see clearly where the gun was and when it was there and was not there, okay? So I'm thinking either Pieter hid the gun or someone else came, like the people that Pieter owed money, and were like, you know what, fuck it, we're just gonna kill everyone and rob the house. But no, it's not that. It's fucking Goat Man, or Sheep Man. God damn it, take a shot. Sheep Man grabs Ada's hand and just pulls her away, and she goes fairly easily, which makes me think, but you know, she went with Pieter pretty easily, but she knew this was Uncle Pieter, so I mean, I don't know. See, if there had been more indication that the goat, oh my God, the sheep man had been like in the periphery, that Ada could have been seeing him and like getting used to him watching and things like that, and used to him being around, so that she goes more willingly because she's just like, oh, I know him. He won't hurt me. It's fine. Then it's one thing. I just felt like that was weird. But they walk off. Maria finally makes it to Ingvar. She's like, what's going on? Where Ada? Why is this happening? And then Ingvar dies. And then she's like looking around and then staring at the screen. And then it cuts to the credits. And it stayed dark for so long, I was worried there was going to be a post-credit scene, like it was a fucking Marvel movie. It did not, that I could tell. Thank God, because I think that would have been the end of it. I would have been like, this is a camp masterpiece if they just had a random end credit scene. I mean, killing Ingvar from the sheepman perspective. Sure, if his only goal was getting Ada back, sure. But obviously he killed Charlie, so he knew where they were. He knew they had a dog that, like, you take out the dog when you are in fiction, you take out, Jesus. In fiction or in movies, you take out the dog when you don't want the alert system. They're in the middle of nowhere. The only alert system they had was Charlie. You take out Charlie. Then suddenly everyone in the house has no warning system that you are nearby or coming into the house. And these people they don't close their door, so they certainly aren't locking their door, okay? So why not take out everyone? Especially if he was in fact watching. Because Ingvar, I'm 90% certain, is the only one who didn't do anything to Ada or to the sheep mom, okay? Because Pieter nearly shot Ada. So if Sheep Man was watching, he would have seen that. He was just trying to find a way to get his daughter back. And then if he was watching, he used the gun to shoot Ingvar, which makes me think that he knew that Maria used the gun to shoot Sheep Mom. Let's name her Elizabeth, because why not? Elizabeth the Sheep Mom. I should have named her earlier. Why not kill Maria then? But again, if all you want is Ada, then you just kill everyone, or you kill them when they're on the, like I mentioned, there was a point where Maria and Ada are like on a little hillside where clearly the grave is, and where Ada's old grave is, and the other two crosses are, and Ada's like playing with flowers or whatever. And it's like, okay, why don't you just take out Maria then? Because Maria's the one that killed your sheep wife, I'm assuming. Also, side note, how did you conceive Ada with the sheep? Did you break in and, bone Elizabeth then? I know I'm getting into very unimportant details here, but the sheep man is the funniest part of this whole movie. And I genuinely had to like hide in the AMC bathroom after I got out of this movie to try and stop myself from laughing, because I was worried I was gonna get acid reflux and like throw up or something. Like I was laughing that hard. I was like, I can't walk to my car. I need to calm down. It was just so ridiculous and so out of nowhere. But also, like, the more that I thought about it, I'm like, okay, why Ingvar? Was it because he was the only real innocent one here? Because, I mean, Pieter did aim a gun at a child. That's not a thought crime. That's attempted murder. Is it attempted murder if you just aim the gun? Or is it just, like, someone with a law degree? Tell me about the legal ramifications of the movie Lamb. So yeah, that's the end of the movie. Do I recommend seeing this? Honestly, frankly, no. The coverage is funny. Honestly, some of, if anything, watch TikToks about this movie because I thought it was funny. Aesthetically, I liked it. I thought the locations were beautiful. However, I do think if we're not treating this as a horror movie and we're just treating this as like I don't know. I feel like they tried to establish this with some of the establishing shots that they did of the farm and like the landscape and all of that. However, I feel like there was a way they could have framed it all better so that it was more like isolating and vast and not just like, look at these pretty hills, like I felt like there was a better way to do that. And someone's gonna be like, well, it's hard to do with daylight when it's daylight 23 hours a day. there are ways to do that, and there are ways to make it so that there's like an ominous quality to it. Just because it's not dusk or twilight does not mean that you need it to be dark to make things ominous and upsetting. You know, like there's a lot of things you can achieve during daylight and all of that. So yeah, all around, I liked the performances well enough. Apparently they used 10 different children to play the human portion of Ada, and then 2 different lambs. Why do you need that many children? I know children are a nightmare to work with in films and such, but like 10? Really? How long did you guys shoot for? Anyway, that's really gonna be it. Did you see the movie Lamb? Are you going to see the movie Lamb? Are you now going to see the movie Lamb because I told you about the giant sheep man? Let me know. Comment down below. Reminder, I have a podcast, the Swell Shenanigans podcast. I also have merch, and I currently have a limited selection of Halloween Swell Halloween slasher merch that's all temporary and will probably be gone early November, if not end of October. So keep that in mind, but go ahead and check that out. Shout out to my patrons. Thank you so much for supporting me on Patreon. You can also support me on Patreon. That'll be listed down below. If you'd like to follow me on all my social media, that'll be all up here. And that's going to be it. Have a lovely day. Goodbye. I'm serious though about the Halloween costume of adult Ada, like sexy Ada. Like I said, it's just like one lamb arm, one sheep arm, and then the head of a sheep. And then you could just be like in like a white bikini or something.
Thank you. Alan, Alexis, Braden, Cameron, Christopher, Chris, Cody, Colton, Crash PC, Destiny, Devin, Dirty One, Dawn, Elliot, Evan, Feckles, Hopeless, Hollow, Checker, Ray, Joe, John M, Jordan, Joseph, Kenny, Kevin, Kim, Kristen, Lamb, Lex, Lisa, Luis, Manga, Matt, O, Matthew S, Lord the Red, Michael, Matthew J, Nathaniel, Pat, Penn, Prologue, Rob, Robert, Ross, Sam, Skylar, Simon, Tasha, Timothy, Tom, Wendy, Williams, Endry.